Hi, welcome to another edition of the Bell Performance video blog. I am Eric Bjornstedt with Bell Performance. Today I want to talk about tips on buying more fuel-efficient cars. The economy's been down and new car sales have been kind of flat. I think they may be starting to pick up, just like the housing market might be starting to pick up. But these kind of tips apply not just if you're buying a new car, because there are plenty of used cars out there to be had, and these things that I'm going to talk about apply just as much to that as to the new cars that you would buy off the dealership. Generally speaking, when you're electing to buy a fuel-efficient car, the general rule of thumb is that if the car is really fuel efficient, you probably will have to pay a little bit more for it. That should stand to reason because the person who has that car knows that it's more fuel efficient, and fuel efficiency is a very big deal nowadays, much more of a big deal than it was 10 or 20 years ago. So that car is going to be more in demand, and the person or the dealer that has that car is more likely to charge you a bonus on that sticker price. Now, the first thing you have to do when you're considering a car like that is to figure out whether it's going to be worth it for you to buy a more fuel-efficient car. Now, leaving aside any philosophical debates about how people feel about the environment, let's look at this from purely a numbers issue. You should know the difference in gas mileage. You should know how many miles you're going to be driving that car. Of course, you know how much gas costs, and then you should have an idea of how much of a premium you're going to be paying on the front end added onto that sticker price. In one of our blogs where we talked about hybrid cars, we talked about the fact that hybrid cars cost X number of thousands of dollars more. Let's say, for example, that you pay an extra $6,000 just for having a hybrid car. And now most people don't do the comparison of the sticker price to how much they're saving. They look purely at the gas mileage and they say, well, if that hybrid gets 45 miles to a gallon and my old car gets 25 miles a gallon, well, that's great. I'm definitely going with the hybrid and I'm going to be coming out golden. And what they don't systematically follow through is, okay, 20 extra MPGs based on how much driving is worth how much in gas savings, and basically how long am I going to have to drive that car to essentially to recoup those savings and then to save more. With some hybrids, when you ran the gas mileage, not necessarily their EPA rating, but their real-world rating based on tests by Consumer Reports, it became pretty clear that people would have to keep those cars for like 15, 16, 17 years just to break even. And we know that nobody really keeps cars like that. You know, they might keep them 10 years, but 16 years, it's hard to find someone like that. So, if you decide you're going to go for a fuel-efficient car, what are things you should look at? Number one, you should look at the engine size. Engine size and the weight of the car are the two biggest single factors that influence whether that car is going to be fuel efficient or not. The weight of the car causes more fuel to be burned to push it around. So a lighter car burns less fuel to get it from point A to point B. And the engine is the single biggest contributor to the weight of that car. So you're going to have to see what's the best combination of weight and engine size relative to fuel economy. Of course, you want to check out the safety ratings. Now, when you're comparing big cars to small cars, you have, unfortunately, a conflict, because smaller cars, smaller, lighter, easier to push around, burn less gas. Heavier cars, however, tend to be the safer cars. And which one should you get? Well, we can't really answer that. You have to decide for yourself. Again, just like with weight and engine size and power, when you're looking at the issue of safety and size of the car versus gas mileage, you've got to do a little bit of research and decide what's the best combination that you are comfortable with. Okay? There are fuel efficiency ratings. Now, which is that's the third thing, fuel efficiency ratings. Now, when people think of fuel efficiency ratings, the first thing they think of is, well, EPA estimated highway and city mileage. And that's where they may get in trouble, because the EPA estimated mileage is not the same as what people tend to get in the real world, because the EPA test protocols, while they're rigorous tests and they are standardized, they do not mirror exactly how people drive in the real world. They may be too good, if you can use that phrase. The fuel efficiency ratings, you're much better off consulting a guide like Consumer Reports, where they have actually tested the cars and trucks out on the road and will be able to give you a better idea of what that vehicle is actually going to get when you take it off the lot and you get it out on the highway or out in the city. The last thing that you can consider is what kind of options are you going to put on it? Obviously, you have to have air conditioning, unless you live in Alaska or something. But there are other options that might seem nice, but will actually suck gas mileage away from your car. First one is a turbocharger. Turbocharger really sucks your gas mileage down. It gives great performance, but it will affect your gas mileage. If you know how to drive a stick, choosing a stick shift over an automatic can save you 2 or 3 mpgs, and over time that can definitely add up. Now, there's another one that very few people know about, and it's called the axle ratio. Okay. In our blog, we talk about paying attention to the axle ratio. Now, what is the axle ratio? Axle ratio is typically listed for pickup trucks and performance vehicles. You can have a lower ratio like 2 to 1 or 3 to 1 versus a higher ratio like 4 or 5 to 1. And what that does, the lower axle ratios allow the engine to run slower over a broader range of speeds. And so essentially what that does is it causes your engine to not to work as hard, and therefore to burn less gas. Now, the one caveat you have to that is, if you're going to be doing a lot of hauling or towing, then a lower axle rating is probably not what you're going to want. But if you're just driving around the city, driving to work 10 minutes and back, you might want to consider that. Lastly, cruise control. Again, standard on a lot of vehicles. And cruise control in this case is a good thing, because cruise control helps you regulate your speed and prevents you from accelerating and decelerating and accelerating and decelerating. And that will bump your gas mileage up. Acceleration is something that can really wreck your gas mileage, because once you've built up speed, if you have to decelerate and then you have to accelerate again, that's essentially you're burning gas unnecessarily. And that's gas, which of course affects your MPGs. So those are some things to look for if you're trying to pick out a fuel-efficient car. Watch out for the best combination of weight, engine size, and safety rating relative to MPGs. Be sure to pick the right options. Pay attention to stuff like turbochargers and axle gear ratio, stuff like that. And look out for the real world fuel efficiency ratings, not just the EPA estimated gas mileage ratings. So, anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I am Eric Bjornstad with Bell Performance. If you like this topic, we have plenty more where this came from located at our website. Our educational website is www.wefixfuel.com, and our regular website, www.bellperformance.com. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.